is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brad and I are doing our top 10 1 versus 1 games, which you might be thinking, well, how is this any different than a 2-player list? Well, it's not. It's just, I delineated my list based off of, obviously I didn't pick games that could be played at 2, Pandemic is a great 2-player game or something like that. And so there are obviously no cooperative games on this. It's strictly, and I tried to do something where, and I don't know how you decided, but I wanted it to be what one person is doing something completely different, and then the other person is doing something different, to win the same game. Yeah. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I think that's how mine are.
Okay.
Well, most of mine are. I mean, I have no cooperative games either.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't make sense.
1v1.
1v1.
It's me versus the game.
It's something that we would play together against each other.
Yep. So this is a genre that I very much love. I really like this type of style of games. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started with, as always, an honorable mention, which mine is going to be Hero Realms. So Hero Realms is one, or Star Realms, pick if you like fantasy or sci-fi. But Hero Realms, I believe, is actually the better of the two because it allows you to actually have a class that you will have something special. Like, instead of just being your standard, both sides have the same deck of cards, and then you deck build to try and defeat your opponent. You start off as, okay, I'm a wizard versus a fighter, or I'm a rogue versus a cleric.
There is an expansion for Star Realms that kind of does that.
Okay.
Which have you got in your big Star Realms? You'll see it when you get it. It's not as distinct as Hero Realms.
Gotcha.
They tried to throw a little bit of that into Star Realms.
Okay.
So.
Which doesn't surprise me considering how successful it was in Hero Realms. But yeah, Hero Realms is a great, I would say, gateway into if you want to start trying to play competitively, especially when they both came out, especially when Star Realms came out. It was a huge type of 1v1 game. And the reason why this isn't higher on the list is because just these other 10 games, I believe, are better. And whenever it comes to deck building, when it comes to deck building and competitive, you almost want all your options available to you at any given time, versus being like, well, I keep drawing shit because of just the way my deck is coming out, so I can't attack you, or I can't buy any better cards or things like that. But yeah, so Hero Realms is still a fantastic game, and I actually enjoy playing it 1v1, but I also would probably rather play it as the campaign than go in that. Honestly, I'd rather play Star Realms in 1v1, but Hero Realms does the exact same thing, lets you play as a unique class, and also has the campaign to add on to it.
Yeah, just pick your genre if you like sci-fi more.
Yeah. Which I prefer fantasy between the two. So, yeah, that's my honorable mention, Hero Realms.
All right. My honorable mention is the Game of Thrones LCG 2nd edition.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying the Game of Thrones is the board game. I'm okay.
No. This is one of those games. I didn't play the 1st edition stuff. When the 2nd edition was announced, that's when I decided to jump in.
Okay.
I would still be playing this game today. It's a dead LCG now. The competitive scene never took off.
Well, it was Fantasy
around
Flight,
there. So. Right. But, I mean...
It was dead upon release.
There was never... I maybe did one tournament because it just never took off or anywhere around here. And but it was really cool because in the 1st edition, you chose one of the houses, the big houses of
Westeros.
Westeros. But with 2nd edition, what they did is you could have your house, and then you could pick a bannerman. So you could pick any other faction to put a certain number of their cards in with you. So you kind of had a morph. You could do really crazy shit,
Cool.
Like have the Starks with a bannerman of Lannisters.
Yeah, okay.
Stuff like that. So you could kind of really get creative with it. It was very well done. Great art, of course.
Yeah.
It was just one of those that just never took off. So that's why I have it here, because it just didn't last that long.
Yeah.
In my area to play a lot, but it was an excellent 1v1 game, a lot of intrigue, a lot of options and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I forgot you've done tournaments for specifically this genre. Yeah, as I have not, because the tournament scene is just not for me. But I'd probably do a few tournaments for probably only my number one.
I've done many tournaments for these,
I will say I am currently doing tournaments on the channel for obviously some that are on this list, but that's between friends and I'm not in a competitive atmosphere.
Right.
All right. My number 10 is one that I am curious to see if you even considered. You might have. It's probably on your list. And that is Ashes, Rise of the Phoenixborn. Is it Phoenixborn? Ashes? Ashes?
Yes, because that's my number 10 as well.
Oh, is it? I'll cross over. Yay! That's funny. So Ashes actually just got a reprint. That I just got the update pack because I had almost everything for the original game, and essentially take the concept of magic and throw dice in the mix. And obviously, it's not as versatile because it's a LCG instead of like a CCG where you just buy booster packs and stuff like that. But yeah, Ashes is extremely well balanced. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, it was one of those, again, the scene did not take off. Because I owned everything for first edition up to a certain point, and I went to like 2 tournaments in Tulsa, and I just kind of
I forgot that they did it. I remember when that came out because at the game store, John was I feel like he was trying to push the game because he's just like, no one's playing it, and it's probably just where we happen to live at the time, but
BFE.
What?
In BFE, bumfuck you.
Oh, yeah. So it's like no one. If it's not Magic the Gathering, it's not taken off. But Ashes is a extremely solid one because you take a Phoenixborn that has a unique ability similar to as if you were playing Commander in Magic, and you have a special ability there, and then you have their pre-built deck, or you can of course deck construct with everything that's available, and then they have their different style of cards. They have events, equipment, enchantments, summons, and stuff like that, and each of them has their own unique themes surrounding them, and how you activate a lot of the cards is based off of the dice that you have.
And you can mitigate the dice. That was a big thing, because that was my big worry with that when they first came out.
Where it's like, great, I can't roll anything, so I can't act. Yeah, no, it's pretty much because it does kind of like what a lot of other games is. You roll and you allocate the dice that way, and there's like one symbol that means everything, and then there's 3 different symbols, and then also those dice have their own special power as well, depending on their school. So, and then obviously with their update pack, with Plaid Hat kind of becoming their own company again, it's definitely a lot more refined. I wouldn't say this is as swingy as in Ashes you don't have like big bombastic turns, like you don't have like, okay, if I do this, it's gonna chain off these 10 other things.
You're limited to your
dice
pool and stuff. But the one thing about this game, probably my favorite thing with all the competitive games that I've played, that this one did best, was it let you choose your first 5-card hand, unless that's changed in 2nd edition.
I don't remember. I think it's the same.
In 1st edition, you could choose your 5 cards you started with.
I think 2nd edition is the same way.
That was so cool, because in my other competitive games, it's like, oh shit, I can't do this, I have to mulligan.
Yeah.
And then just like any.
Yeah, really any game.
This one, you choose the 5 cards you start with.
That's true.
It's like,
I forgot about that.
Badass,
I forgot. Yeah, because I never do that. Like, I usually, when I'm playing this game, I'm teaching someone it, so it's just easier for me to just be like, draw the top 5 and go from there.
Right.
But yeah, that
was a really neat thing, because if your deck is tuned for one particular thing and you need this much of this to get it started, or these many minion things to throw out, you can go ahead and just start your hand with it and be all right, we're going to start the game like this, and both of you get to do that. So
that's true.
So it's kind of
that's a good point.
It just made it so you don't have those games where somebody has the perfect opening hand and somebody doesn't, and they just start whooping their ass right off the type,
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm hoping that with Plaid Hat kind of having, I would honestly say probably at this time Plaid Hat has a bigger name also than they did whenever it first came out. And honestly, that was at the time it was a flushed market. Every fucking 1v1 tournament card game out, so it had a lot to live up to. So now it's just like, well, everything Fantasy Flight does dies immediately. So now they're like, hey, Ashes is still here, and the rebalancing of it is definitely better because the Geralt of Rivia, pretty much that Phoenixborn, he would be like, oh, I'm going to summon 17 Iron Rhinos. Oh, yes, they have 20 attack and 10 defense, so no, you're not killing them. But now he can only summon one.
Right.
And it just feels a lot more balanced that way. And yeah, it's a good one. And I think that it's not none of these games well, actually, that's not true. One of them is definitely dead, but I mean, still, if you want to try and get into this now, it's not a bad time because it's available, and you don't have to hunt down the original Phoenixborns that are like impossible to find. They're all going to be released, as normal. So, all right, well, my number 9, since both of ours was number 10, as Ashes. My number 9 is a fantastic 1v1 game that was number 1 on BGG for the longest time before it was overshadowed by 2 games, and that will be Twilight Struggle. So Twilight Struggle is an interesting one to put on this list because this is where I was trying to figure out, well, could also just go on a 2-player list, which, I mean, honestly, it can, but both sides are playing different games. Like as one person playing the USA and the other person playing the USSR, and you are basically struggling and tug-of-warring back and forth to try and control different, have influence over different countries around the world. What makes Twilight Struggle so great is, one, there's that balance of I can't remember exactly what it's called, but like I want to say influence of or victory points is what it was. It was like, if I gain 10 victory points and you gain 5, well then I've only gained 5. So you take back and forth, and the first one to hit 20 immediately wins. But there's also the space race that you can fight for that will give you huge advantages if you're further along that. But you also have to keep in mind I think it was called the DEFCON rating, because that was something that if that got higher, it was bad for both players. But yeah, you're utilizing cards through different periods of time to influence different areas, and then there's also some auto win conditions where it's like, if I have this card and I control these very specific things, I can win that way. If you control like one total continent, then it's like that's huge to just have. So obviously your opponent's not going to let you do that. But one thing I do like with Twilight Struggle is the way cards are used is more of like, there's an ability that's for me, but if I use it for the ability, you're going to get the action points on it, and vice versa. And I like that thought process, the multi-use cards, because it's like, this ability is really good, but that's 5 points that, my opponent's going to get to use to turn over some of the countries I just fought so hard to get. So this one, I mean, it's long, it is complex, and it's also one of those games that if you're playing against someone who knows the game inside and out, you'll just get dominated. But I would probably say that for most of these anyway. But if you don't mind long games and you want to put in the time, Twilight Struggle definitely still has held up well over the years, and I believe I feel like they just released an expansion for it too, so it has some legs left in it. But yeah, and if you're interested in history at all, especially the Cold War, the entire book, what's this card? It's in the it tells you exactly the historical context behind it. So a lot of good things going for it. I think the only real negative is that it is a long game, but if everything else works for you, you will be invested the entire time. So, and it will feel like a struggle. It's not going to be like one side where it's like, well, I'm just doing great, and then USA is just woo, and 20 points immediately. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So
because it was one I've never played this one, and I've heard a lot of people talk about it, how like it seems like the Soviet Union is more powerful right off the bat. Kind of, maybe, and then it's I mean, it seems that way. It's balanced,
right?
But it seems like the Soviet Union has the upper hand at the beginning, and it works out right that way. I mean, That's why I said it seems like.
I was just gonna be like, well, that's not the way history played out.
No, I know.
No, in my experience, that is not. I have not felt that way. I've felt that it's pretty good, both sides. But I will also say that the different levels of cards, and that's why I like the way the cards work, is because it's not one of those like Memoir 44, for example, which is not on this list because I hate that game. Is not just you don't like Twilight Struggle. You do share a deck of cards, but it's like, oh, if I want this ability, I'm going to give something to my opponent. Memoir 44 is, man, lucky me, airstrike. Man, lucky me, airstrike, airstrike. And it's like, oh, can I draw one of those? No, because we share the deck, and it's my turn, and I happen to draw it. So fuck off. That's my number 9, Twilight Struggle.
My number 9. This Memoir 44.
I hate that game, man.
This game, it's just funny.
That's so funny.
No, Memoir 44 it's a light war game, World War II. You set up actual scenarios, that actual military campaign scenarios, 1v1. Somebody's controlling the Axis, somebody's controlling the Allies. And you go through and you're playing cards. It's quadrant style, so it's like it's the command and color system. So when you have cards, it'll say you can or whatever the word is, activate people in either the left, center, right, or all of them, or whatever. It just depends. And then it's dice-based combat. You're moving around, shooting. You have cover rules. Like I said, it's a very simplistic war game, but and it is swingy, but the games don't last very long.
Unless you play the was it the Overlord? No,
yeah, where you just have Omaha Beach, the huge thing. I've always wanted to try that, but
I'd probably try that just for the historical, like just to play a massive game, because I've never played like Axis and Allies or those big history games.
Yeah,
because to me it's always like the game always is designed to follow history, which in my mind is like, well, what's the point of me playing this? Like, if this faction lost this battle and it's designed heavily for me to lose this battle, why am I playing it? Why don't you just say I lost I did?
I think it's just replaying history to see. I mean, it's just think about
read a book.
Think about the movie Gladiator, where they recreate like the Battle of Carthage and stuff in there, and it goes the other way.
Yeah.
It's just a surprising,
right.
So I mean, you just kind of do it that way, and I don't own this game anymore.
Yeah,
I wish I did, but I never did get it played because anybody that I would play it with isn't really a war, likes that theme.
Yeah.
So since I have everything for D-Day dice, that kind of took its spot. So that's why, because I played solo and all that. So, but yeah, this is one I really liked. I mean, the little tanks, the little artillery, all that stuff. It was really,
they even had
really cool on the board.
Yeah, they had like the barbed wire, the sandbags. I mean, it looks. I mean, it doesn't. I mean,
it looks like
today's games that come out. It doesn't look great, but back then it just kind of. But yeah, it was a combination of two things for me that really made me hate it. Well, one, I already mentioned the fact that this faction lost in this battle, so they're favored to lose in the game anyway. But fine, take that out. It was two mechanics. One, the fact that you share the deck, which a lot of people actually have said, well, just get. I mean, you have to buy 2 copies of the game, but each person has their own deck. Okay, well that kind of fixes it. Yeah, you still have the luck of the draw, but at least if I draw something, you still have the equal opportunity to draw the same thing. So it's not like you're taking all the left quadrant cards,
right,
and then I can't do anything with that weird, side of the board. But the other one was the dice. So it's like a 1-2 combo of things where it's like, okay, well, I already have the luck of the draw. I don't want luck of the dice to determine, so it was just too random for me.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, if it was a true war game, because war games in general, those war gamers you see, those games take hours, days even.
That's true.
And this is a 30 to 40 minute game. I mean, that's one of the reasons. It's just you toss it out there, you kill each other, you play it, complete the objective, don't complete the objective, whatever. I mean, it was Days of Wonder, like one of their early first games.
Yeah.
It was just, it was a nice, simple 1v1 game that just kind of fit that niche at that time.
Yeah. All right. Good deal. My number 8 is basically the same thing as Twilight Struggle, but completely different theme. But this still is historical, and that is Watergate. Watergate was sold as Twilight Struggle in 20 minutes, and I mean, it's not really, but I can see where people are getting that. I mean, people are saying that about Blitzkrieg, which I haven't played, but I want to
play the whole war and.
Yeah, it was and even the board of Blitzkrieg kind of looks like a little bit like Twilight Struggle, but Watergate doesn't. If you don't know, Watergate is about the Watergate scandal. And
what
not
is that? Why don't you teach us what?
I will. It was about Richard Nixon hiring goons and burglars to bug the was it the DNC Democrat? Yeah, DNC. And fun fact, the reason why it was even caught is because one of the guards realized that like the door was unlocked, and so on one of his rounds, and whenever he came and he locked it. Whenever he came back, it was opened again with duct tape, and that's how it was kind of initially first caught. So yeah, I know you tried to one-up me on not knowing what the Watergate. Now, obviously, I'm not.
You young folks.
Yeah, I don't know history. It also helps that the rulebook does the same thing Twilight Struggle does with a lot of the cards. But this one, if you don't want to play, I mean, Twilight Struggle is probably 2 hours. Unless both players are very experienced, but even then I would probably say it goes longer if both people are experienced. Watergate is about 20-30 minutes. One person plays as Nixon, the other one person plays as Deep Throat, and you Deep Throat the other player, and then I'm just going to stop right there. As Nixon, you are trying to gain... Oh man, I don't know what they call it. You're trying to get like 6 points or something. I don't exactly remember what they called it in the game. And you have a variety of ways of doing that. One card in your deck, and both sides have 2 completely different decks of cards. And one card, I think it's called Gambit, I want to say, gives you one of those points. But the other player, his Deep Throat, is trying to get these. It's essentially like, evidence. It's trying to get evidence on Nixon, and they have multiple journalists with different colors, either red, green, or yellow, and they're trying to basically take these tokens and move them on a corkboard to get 2 paths from 2 journalists to connect to Nixon. That's how they win. What's interesting about that is the fact that a lot of the cards you play, you'll have 3 face down in the middle of those tokens that need to be placed, and the Nixon players knows what they are, but the other player is trying to move them over to his side, and once both players play their hands of 5 cards, they get revealed, and if like the journalist player has them on his side, then he gets to place them, but if Nixon has them on his side, then he gets to place them face down and block that path. Gotcha. But I think the journalist player has I want to say 6 or 8 journalists, but you can also get them removed from the game because there's a stack of journalists, and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to play this card that removes that from an option, so I know you've been moving, this green path, well, I'm going to remove that journalist from the game, so that's not even a valid path. It gives you the feeling of that head-to-head tug-of-war feel without the overwhelming complexity of Twilight Struggle. So if you're wanting something like that and you still want the history behind it, then Watergate is a fantastic option. I really like the tug-of-war style 1v1 games. So yeah, that's my number 8. Watergate.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about that one too. I haven't played that one.
I'm trying to remember the company.
Isn't it Stronghold?
No, it's CP. They made Pipeline as well.
Oh, yeah.
Capstone? No.
Capstone.
Okay, is that what it was?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so I remember when that came out for Gen Con, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'll just grab a copy. And the guy was selling it was like, do you like Twilight Struggle? And I'm like, that's what I've heard. That's what this is. It's really not, but it kind of is, I guess. Let me just contradict myself immediately.
All right, so my number 8 is another game you don't like.
Okay.
I'm surprised it made it on my list after comparing it with a lot of different things, and that's Keyforge.
Oh, gross, man.
Keyforge was a game that...
Why can't that one die?
Well, it's the newest thing that is just getting ready to come out.
I know they're doing a lot of
brings in
stuff
a campaign
too.
where you can play it solo.
Oh, interesting.
Which is something I may buy a deck or two just to try.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games, and it was innovative at the time where with Fantasy Flight they were selling these decks, and every single deck was different. Totally different. Nobody had the same deck. Well, right. I mean, they had an X number of factions, and then your deck would have like 3 of those, be a mix of 3 of those, and then when you would play, you would have to you play all of one of your factions. So you had control of doing that and everything. And at the end of the game, you're just trying to gain a certain number of keys.
Yeah.
I mean, that was how you won the game. What was unique about this game as well was it was just, I don't know, you could the decks were cheap, so I owned 25 decks I think at one point, and you just go through and you play them. The reason it's still on this list is because I sold all the stuff I have, but they have an online community where they have a modulator where you can actually play it online.
Okay.
Still, so every once in a while I'll do that just to mess around. I played in a few tournaments in this, and it's a light-hearted 1v1 game.
Yeah.
The art is lighthearted, it's kind of silly, fun, just seeing how. The best tournament, though, I did was when you just went, because a lot of tournaments have entry fees or whatever. This one, you went in and you bought a deck. And that was all you did, and everybody played with the deck they bought.
Yeah.
And it was just fun, you just went in, nobody knew their deck, you just bought it, sit down, you played a unique deal. And that was a kind of a catchy deal to do. I mean, some people had shitty decks, some people had good decks. It was just the fun of the draw.
Luck of the draw, yeah.
But and then I didn't get into the second cycle or whatever they want to call it of cards. I just stopped at the first one.
That's where I stopped as well.
But they started bringing in more factions, more like weird morphed factions. The thing that wants to bring me back to it is that campaign thing I was telling you about.
Right.
So I might get the core box of that just to try it out and see what it's like, because it's cheap. But
this game for me was essentially dead upon arrival because it was Richard Garfield's design behind it, and it's like, well, fucker, you did Magic, how are you going to top Magic? Well, pretty much by being like, hey, instead of being thousands upon thousands of dollars to get good, you just pay 12 and get a deck, which of course they hail. Well, hail. Well, shoot. Well, yes, that will work. You could pay $12, get a deck, and be like, "Hey, this isn't bad." It's buying up, it's even way cheaper. It's because to buy a pre-constructed Magic deck is $20.
Right.
Granted, those are way better designed, but so it has that going for them. What I needed in Keyforge, and if I'm incorrect on this now, then let me know. But you had 0 interaction between players, and what I mean by that is my turn, I'm gonna play the Mars faction. Boom, 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 boom. Yay! All right, your turn. I'm gonna play whatever faction. I'm gonna play this faction. Play a card, destroy everything I did. Oh, okay. So I did nothing, and you did nothing. So now we're at a stalemate. That's what I hated. What makes Magic so good is the fact that it's like, I'm going to do this on my turn. Okay, you're going to play something to try and stop that. Well, I'm going to play something. You have that back and forth, and Keyforge just doesn't have that. And so I don't like to do my whole turn just to watch you wipe it all out and gain nothing, or it just goes back and forth like that. And it's like, what are we doing?
I think...
so if other factions, there's been like 3 cycles, I think.
Well,
this.
3 or 4, yeah. Because one just came out not too long ago. But anyway, and mind you, what we're discussing, we've only both played the initial run of this stuff, so there could be a lot of different changes.
Oh yeah,
but I have no idea. I think the reason this game is still going, because like you said, the game design isn't superb.
Yeah.
I think it's just the uniqueness of. There's no deck building at all.
That's true.
You don't. It's you spend $10 or whatever, buy a deck, and then
that's
play
it. Yeah, and you couldn't deck build.
Right, there's 0 deck
because they
building.
had the backs of the cards had a unique.
Everything
design.
was. You could not deck build. It was a total. What you had is what you had. And it was just unique.
Yeah.
I think it just fit this little niche of being kind of a neat thing where you just like
it was never heard of. Yeah,
right. That thing where everybody just buys a deck to go to a tournament and you just sit down and play.
That would be,
and it's just hilarious because you're just like, this shitty deck. I mean, because that's what happened. I went to one in Tulsa, and I just paid for a deck, and I was like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I was like, what am I doing here? And everybody's just laughing. You know, it's just the fun. Because
you also had like that random name generator for all the, and like sometimes you'd get those really raunchy ones.
Yeah, this is probably the most lighthearted 1v1 game.
No,
I have, just because
I'll be surprised if you missed one, because I can think of one that's more lighthearted. But we'll see.
Find out. Well, I don't know. Maybe if
I'll be sad if you missed it.
Hopefully I didn't miss it either. Now you got me worried. But yeah, that was my number 8, Keyforge.
Yeah.
And you'll only hate one more of the ones on my list. So.
Yeah. One more thing on Keyforge though is if all those cycles can work together and they have the interaction that I'm talking about between players, or if it's still the same way it's played. If it's the same way it's played, I'm not interested. If it is like, oh no, now there's a lot of cards that do that, where with instants or and stuff, then it's like, great, okay, then that would be something worth trying again.
I'm just worried of power creep. Like I'm afraid
that's the other thing. It's like
are going to be whenever so much powerful, and the old ones are going to be not viable.
Their Fantasy Flight's marketing was, there's not one deck that's alike. Sure, but that's also the same with No Man's Sky, saying there's quadrillion, triple, in Google planets, and it's like, well, yeah, you can say that with that planet's blue and that planet's yellow, but they're the same fucking thing. Yeah, technically they're two different. That's kind of how Keyforge was. So I wish instead of being like, hey, there's two decks are the same, it's like, well, how about you make them good? So anyway, that's enough on Keyforge. My number 7 is a game that I believe you have yet to play, but I believe you own it all, and that is Cloudspire. Cloudspire is technically, and I should say that Cloudspire can be played with more than 2, so it's not strictly a 2-player game. However, I would never play this with more than just 2, because of the same type of idea that League of Legends and those MOBAs usually don't incorporate other players. It's my side, my gate versus your gate, and then my heroes versus your heroes. And Cloudspire is exactly that. It is one of the perfect examples of a MOBA style game that I can think of. If you don't like MOBAs, I would still say give this a shot, because the friend I've done this on the channel with, he doesn't like MOBAs, but he likes Cloudspire. In Cloudspire, you play one one completely different faction from the other player, and you go through different phases of gaining source to pay for upgrades, and then you get command points to pay for heroes, and it's a chip theory game, so the quality of the game is phenomenal. But yeah, you have 3 heroes that your faction has, and then you have a plethora of towers you can build that do the automatic kind of defense. You have minions that you can control that you group them up and they just kind of mindlessly go forward, similar to the Rum and Bones if you've played that. And like the minions just kind of move forward, but you can control how the heroes move. And then just the way that the factions can be built it's kind of like Too Many Bones, where it's like, oh man, this could be built in multiple different ways. Too Many Bones, I believe, has way more customizable options because it's an RPG versus the Cloudspire factions, but the Cloudspire factions do still have quite a bit of versatility to them. This one's fantastic. I mean, I would even say grab this primarily as a solo game. It seems like they put more effort into their solo aspect than they did in the 1v1, because the solo has the scenarios, like the whole like a campaign. Hey, for chapter 1 you're playing as the Brahmin, and they're going to play these 6 games and tell a story while you're going. So, and the solo is incredibly well done.
I've done one.
You have? Okay.
One try walkthrough on a solo game.
Okay.
I didn't consider it for this because I've never played it. I'm only ever going to play it solo. So even though it is technically, it's I guess 1v1 against.
Yeah, that's true. But
so that's why I didn't even.
We specifically went for one player versus another actual player. So yeah, Cloudspire is fantastic. They have. I don't know if they're going to keep supporting it. I haven't heard anything, considering now that they have Hoplomachus to do, and then Skyrim or Elder Scrolls. Yeah,
it's
not Skyrim.
Doing.
God, if they just have everything for like Elder Scrolls, that'd be pretty great. And then they also have Burn Cycle, so they might do kind of a small Kickstarter in between to finish out Too Many Bones. And I mean, I think Cloudspire could do with more factions. They only have, I think, 6 total.
I think the plan is to do for Too Many Bones. I think they're going to do one more box, like an Undertow sized box.
Okay, yeah.
Because they only have room for like 2 more heroes in their trove.
Finish out their trove, yeah.
But yeah, as far as the other stuff, I don't know. I know I pre-ordered the upgrade pack for Cloudspire.
Oh, yeah.
I have it pre-ordered, but I don't have any of the second edition stuff other than that.
Yeah, Cloudspire is fantastic. The factions are so unique. The new ones that came out are really, like, they're I would say they're radically different from the other ones, and the other 4 in the base game were totally different from each other, but they still felt familiar, while the other ones were like, oh, this is different. Right. And yeah, I mean, even some people were commenting on my latest review for the expansions, because there's an event deck that, I mean, it's a deck, but you only will ever have like 4 played throughout the game, but they can be kind of swingy, and someone's like, most people don't even play with that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you can just, it changes nothing. You can just be like, nope, it's just gonna be strictly me and you. So I really like Cloudspire, and I mean, it's weird. For a game that is like, hey, this is a MOBA tabletop game, it has a pretty small footprint, but I think this is chip theory.
Right.
They don't go, it's not a bombastic game in terms of like board like presence, but it's so deep in terms of what it does. So that's my number 7, Cloudspire.
All right, my number 7 is another dead FFG game, and this is Star Wars Destiny.
Okay.
Strictly 1v1.
Yeah. This died pretty quick, I feel like, too.
Well, and it was the distributing is what killed the competitive scene, because they started off strong releasing stuff, and then they were so late on a couple of runs of packs. You know, because this one is not the LCG model. This one was you would buy packs, and it would have 5 cards and a die in every single pack. And it was luck of the draw, you know, just like Magic style and all that stuff. And a game like this needs new content, new life brought into it. And there was for 2 straight cycles or 2 straight boxes, they were like several months late, and it just kind of killed the scene. Because there's so much stuff's coming out. It's like, oh, I'm going to jump over to this, you know, and whatever. So anyway, with this one,
I mean, honestly, with those types of games, there's a reason why Magic's been around for 27 years, because it's constantly new cycle every, like 2 or 3 new cycles every year, and you can't sit around while something like that is on the market.
This one was cool because, I mean, it brings everything Star Wars. You're gonna choose a couple heroes on your side. The other one chooses a couple of villains, and you create your deck. So as you make your deck, you'll have all these dice attached to these cards, but you'll even set at the side. Mm-hmm. And then once you pay the resources to put out a card that has the die, then that die will come into your deal. So when it's the roll time, you get to roll that dice along with everything, and then you get to do what it says. And the goal of the game, obviously, with like most of these 1v1 games, is you're trying to kill your opponent's characters they control. Okay. So once you control like the base boxes, you know, you are Rey and Kylo. Pilot.
Poe Dameron.
So
he's going to be Moon Knight.
Yeah,
and I'm like, hell,
Punisher is going to be in that. That's, you know, we were talking about that. That's where Punisher.
This has nothing to do with Star Wars, but because I saw that Punisher was being revived by that same actor, but he's going to be in Moon Knight, so that's cool.
So anyway,
Star Wars.
right. So you'll have those 2, and then over there was Kylo Ren and oh my god,
they're so forgettable.
Silver.
Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, the Phasma.
But all those characters were so forgettable.
Right. So anyway, that was how you kind of started, and that started in a 2-player box, and then you just go until you wipe each other out. Everybody has their own special stuff. Is it like hit points for the main characters? Yeah.
Okay.
And there's a list of of faces on each card that has the deal of like what is on the dice, you know, and everything.
Okay.
So what I have is I think I have like 260 some dice. I'm about to have this whole big collection of stuff, and which is something
that sounds annoying to set up.
It's not.
Is it not?
No,
oh, okay. Because I figured they'd be like, okay, I want to put this card in. Oh shit, where's the freaking die that I need for that?
The cards are you leave your dice numbered. The way
okay.
I have all these fancy foam trays with them and everything. So we need to play it sometime just so you can see try it. Because it's fun. I mean,
there's a game.
There's dice mitigation and all that stuff too.
There's a game that I know for a fact is on your list if it's not number one, and I really wish you had kept everything because I want to try it really bad. Not counting the one time we had played it actually.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, this one is just great. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know, it's with it being dead, you can get decent sized collections now. Get it and just keep it. I mean, that's true because normally with dead games the price went up, but this one it was the opposite. People couldn't sell it, you know, at a low enough price for people to try and just take my shit. Because I bought this stuff, the game had already been announced it was dying.
Yeah,
and so people were selling the booster boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Those booster boxes are normally $120.
Yeah.
For a booster box. I was buying them on Amazon for like $30, $40 a booster box. I bought like 4 or 5 of these booster boxes, just packs, all this stuff.
Dang,
you know, and
that's wild.
And it's neat, you know. I mean, I still keep looking to see if they're cheap because some of them are still hovering high, and there's some sets I don't have, but I'm just like, it's just kind of neat, you know. I mean.
See, because dead LCGs don't... That wouldn't really bother me too much. I mean, if I was already into the game, because I don't play tournaments anyway, so I would only have the content to play with friends. Interesting.
But yeah, that's a great one, Star Wars Destiny.
All right.
I wish it would have kept rolling.
I wish it kept rolling. My number 6 is chess. That's not true. I hate chess. But it is Onitama, which is similar to chess, but a little bit better for me. Onitama is a 1v1 game that is like chess. You have 5 pieces on your side of the board, and your opponent has 5 pieces on theirs. You have 4 pawns and 1 king. Emperor, really. And the whole deal with this game is that there's a deck of cards that have unique movement symbols on them, and whenever you set up the game, you set up 5 of those out of the deck, and that's the only 5 cards that'll be out throughout the entire game. And you will have two on your side, your opponent will have 2, and then you'll have 1 in the middle. And these 2 cards indicate what any of your 5 pieces can do. So if it's like the tiger and it can move 3 spaces forward or 1 space back, you can use that card to move one of your pieces to mimic that movement. But what you do is you take that card and you swap it with the one that is in the middle. So then that's your turn. Your opponent does the same thing with one of their cards. So every time you're going to give a card to your opponent. So you have that type of mental game where, is this card too powerful? Like, what do I want to give my opponent at this point in time, or eventually give to them? Because so you have to take into account where their pieces are, because it's like, oh, if I allow them to get this card, then they can take my Emperor with it. So you really have that cool mind game like feeling throughout this entire game. You win by either capturing the opponent's Emperor or getting your Emperor to land on the throne on the other side. This game also has had 2 expansions, I think. One was just another set of 16 cards that gives you more versatility, and another one actually added like a wind spirit in the middle, which I still have not tried, so I have no idea how that actually works. But I don't know, this one just works super well for me. I don't really like chess because chess is definitely one of those games that if you're playing against anyone who has any semblance of experience, they're just going to destroy you, and that's not fun. So Onitama is, if you want a unique way of playing chess, I would definitely check it out, because I mean, no 2 games are going to be the same. You shuffle the first, if you have the base game, you have 16 cards, 5 of those are going to be out, and then just the way you're going to strategize with moving your pieces with the unique ways that they can move is just awesome. You don't have to learn, okay, the rook can only go up or orthogonal, the bishop can only go diagonal. You don't have to learn any of that, as well as actual, I mean, sometimes I'll watch YouTube videos of like grandmasters, And I'm like, first of all, if you ever watch chess tournaments, they're the most boring fucking videos because they're just like, and they even look bored. They like move a piece and then they're just like, I'm just a genius. Checkmate. Fucking idiot. And then they slap them and they're like, how dare you insult me by attempting to play against me. But yeah, Onitama is a fantastic chess-like game. So that's my number 6.
Yeah, I've never played the physical version. I've played it on
the app
version a few times. It's good.
Yeah,
I just never have played against another.
Right.
Person,
yeah, and for me, I tried the app as well, and I'm like, this is so boring. Like, it for me it is trying to read what your opponent might do. So, yeah.
All right. So my number 6 then is already been said.
Hero Realms.
Yeah, I cheated a little bit. I put Star/Hero Realms.
It's the same game.
Yeah, and now if I was picking it strictly for 1v1, I have played Star Realms probably 200 times, 1v1.
Gotcha.
Or Hero Realms maybe 40 or 50.
Gotcha.
Because I played Hero Realms more cooperative.
Yeah.
But we did, and that's just because I ran Star Realms demos.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
At Origins, I was constantly doing that.
What'd you say? It's a Wise Wizard.
Wise Wizard.
Yeah, you'll get that right.
Sorry. Yeah.
If you want to work for him again, you'll get the name right.
But anyway, at least like you said, I mean, it's basic deck building. You just go in, you're trying to wipe out the others.
Yep.
Part of the thing I think I like about Star Realms 1v1 a little more was the bases that pop out.
Oh, yeah.
And how some of them are constant abilities, some of them,
yeah, that's
are
true.
Stuff. It brings in a little more, because on Hero Realms, I don't think
I think you had champions or something that were basically like the
kind
bases.
of that. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, I played Star Realms so many damn times, 1v1.
Yeah.
But they're virtually the same game.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really not much more to say about it.
Cool.
That's about it.
My number 5 is my dead game, but here's hoping that it's not truly dead. I don't think it's ever been said officially that it's dead. And with Plaid Hat being their own, they can bring it back. They can revive it. And it is Guardians. The most generic, boring name ever. But it's so fun. It's so good. I think they had a second expansion pack released, but whenever they were bought out, they didn't do it. But yeah, so Guardians to me is like Overwatch as a card game, which the designer has told me actually personally that was his inspiration was Overwatch, at least a part of it. But you are trying to fight for do the tug of war control for different areas similar. Well, I was gonna say similar to Smash Up, but not really. Just there's different bases that have powers, but you're going you're putting heroes. Because your side will have 3 heroes and your opponent's side will have 3 heroes, and you're trying to move them from base to base to try and get the little token to move onto your side. And each base has a certain number of victory points that once you control it, you take it off, and then whoever gets, I think it's 11, it's a certain number of victory points to win the game. Maybe it's not 11, maybe it's like 8 or something, but the reason why that this game is extremely fun is because each hero, one, has their special ability, has a certain number of attack, defense, and then they also have a ultimate ability that's off to the side that you play cards to charge up and then use them, and that's like the ultimate that's in Overwatch. So each hero is vastly different from one another, and then you take those 3 hero decks and you shuffle them together, and that's the deck you have. So. And I mean, it's extremely fast paced. I love the versatility between and variety between all of the heroes. And yeah, it just feels like Overwatch, popping off that ultimate that, from the healer Angel character. I don't remember any of their names, but because I just don't care enough to remember that. But it's like you get to revive, like you can save it to revive all your heroes or ready all of them. You have like a character that is like poisonous, so he puts poison tokens on other heroes and just permanently damages them. Like, it's a fun, lighthearted card game of area control that I just like the fact that there are different heroes. And I'm a huge fan of Overwatch, so it worked out well for me. So, Plaid Hat, give it to me. Just sell me the pack. Like, I'll take it. No one else wants it. No one talks about this game.
Who designed it? You know? Was it Vega?
No.
Okay, that's good. Because Vega left.
He left.
He owns his own company now. So.
Well, maybe he'll make it. I do not. I mean, it's probably going to be Isaac Vega now that I said it wasn't. Guardians. It's so hard to find because that's the most generic name. It was Callan Floors.
Oh, okay. So they could bring it.
Yeah, if he's still with them. I mean, his Board Game Geek, that's the only game he's made. No, he's made, nope, yep, that's all he's made. Yeah, there was a Guardians Uprising and then Guardians Retribution, which I don't think ever came out. Awesome. So, only time will tell, but I'm pretty sure it's not being made.
Yeah. So
that's my number 5, Guardians.
All right, my number 5 is the last game on this list that you don't like.
Bet you I can guess what it is, and I bet you I can say I don't hate it. What? Summoner Wars.
Nope.
No, it's not. Oh, then maybe I do hate it.
Seven Wonders Duel.
Okay.
Because it's strictly
yeah.
It's not as... you both are trying to accomplish the same thing, so it's kind of a weak 1v1 in a way. I mean...
It's also a weak game, but yeah.
I did try it with Agora.
The newest one?
Stuff.
Did it make it worse?
No, it just adds a lot more other ways to win, a lot more decisions and stuff. I mean, it's just more, So, I mainly put this on there because this was one that my wife and I actually play quite a bit. She loves Seven Wonders, and in this one, you're just putting the cards out in a unique design. And then you're drafting one, and if that uncovers a face down, then it flips face up, and you're trying to either win the tug of war battle in military, or get all 7 or 9 of the science symbols. I can't remember. I think it might be 9 of the science symbols, and then just in the Agora you're winning the Senate and stuff that. So. Throwing in the expansions is a must with this, just because it would get pretty boring, just the base game. I know we had played it not too long ago, but this one's just it's a simplistic kind of almost like a laid back 1v1 game in a way.
Sure.
You're just sitting there, you take a card, you put it in your tableau, blah, you buy a god power, stuff like that.
The expansion.
So. I put it on here just because it gets played a lot, and it's one that the games when you're playing 2-player and both people really, really know the game, it doesn't take no time at all.
True.
This is a really fast one. But yeah, I mean, that's really all
I hate it. I hate it. I hate everything about it. But I'm going to leave it at that. My number 4, I thought was going to be higher, but after much internal, struggling within myself, I put it at number 4. Also because I play the other games, and I don't really play this one as much. But that is, of course, Magic: The Gathering. I mean, what can I say about Magic that hasn't already been said? It's the definitive 1v1 game. Honestly, it's the only one out of anyone's list that's been around for 27 years. And what?
If anybody that's watching this video does not know what Magic is,
that's true.
You're in the wrong place.
You're watching the wrong top 10. But it is. I mean, because of course Magic can be played with multiple, like Commander. There's multiple different ways to play it. But none of these games will last 27 years. I mean, granted, Twilight Struggle I don't even know when that came out. But in a competitive scene is what I should say. I mean, you see Fantasy Flight games come out, they last 2 months before they're already announced to be dead. But yeah, Magic. I mean, if you want to play competitively in a tournament, yeah, there's two ways that I know. There's Modern and Standard. Those are the two that I'm aware of. But my favorite way to play Magic is Commander, which, funny enough, is not 1v1. I mean, it can be, but it's actually better with, 4. But, I mean, Magic has just unlimited ways to play. It's complete deck construction. You can think of it. If you can think of a theme, you can probably make a deck around it. And, so, I mean, the biggest thing is following the meta and paying 10 grand for a card to go into your deck and be like, if I draw this card, you lose. So that's why I don't actually like Modern or Standards, is for that very reason, is like it's all about trying to top deck and, you know, be like, oh, boom, 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 okay, I won. And it's like, great, why are we playing? But there is general rules to Magic. In fact, there's a YouTube video that I think actually describes kind of the different generalizations of each I want to say faction, but schools of Magic, I guess. Like, because you have white, that is about life gain. You have black, which is about taking away life. You have green, which is big monsters. You have red, which is about instant damage. And then you have blue, which is kind of about control. So, of course, that's the oversimplification of everything about it. But honestly, I could go on and on about Magic, but there's so many just different. There's Pauper, which is just only commons. So if you want to play Pauper and just have a casual fun 1v1, and you can build a deck for like $3 because common cards are like $1, or not $1, like a cent. So there's that way. Commander is 100 card decks at 40 life, where you have, it's 99 cards in the deck and you have a commander off to the side. That's my favorite way. In fact, but the problem is, as kind of mentioned with Keyforge, is the barrier to entry is very high if you want to get into a tournament, a high stakes, because I mean you can win shit ton of money with Magic if you get in these tournaments, but you also are spending about the same money you're going to win if to even compete. So, but if you want to just do a casual table, like friendly tabletop kind of setting, definitely just Magic is probably the best one that I could honestly put on this list. However, for me, it's at my number 4.
I've been messing around with the Arena on my
iPad. That's a good point. Yes, I forgot about Arena because I don't play it.
You just
it's free. Yeah.
I mean, you can pay.
You can, yes.
Get stuff, but you unlock stuff as you go. And
yes.
I haven't played Magic in years. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I actually forget because I've never played Arena, so I didn't consider it. But yes, if you don't want to play, physically, you can get on Magic Arena, which now they have it as for your phone.
It's an iOS app, yeah.
Yeah, so
I use it on my iPad all the time.
So you can have it there or on your PC, and yes, it is free. I believe. I don't know how their balancing is in terms of, like actually how much you gain, like the currency to buy cards in the game, because usually it's always like play 20 games and you get 1 coin, and you need 30 coins to.
They have different barrier like achievements that you're trying to do to get stuff at the beginning. I'm still at the beginning.
Oh yeah, yeah, but I mean that's how my friend's cousin got into it. Is he was playing Arena and he was doing pretty well. So yeah, I might actually have to try that just because I do really like Magic, and I can't imagine that because the scene of Magic tournaments is very cancerous. It's just like you'll probably meet the shittiest people at a Magic tournament. But I probably would imagine that it's not as bad online because you don't have to physically deal with someone like that.
You may get your ass reamed, but it's not. Yeah,
so actually that's a very good point. So Magic Arena is taken off quite a bit. And I wonder, it'd be interesting if they had the other modes on there. I don't know. I
you get to choose. I think. Let me think here. I think you get to choose Modern, Standard. Can't remember what all modes they have. Okay. You get to choose a couple of modes.
Okay, cool. So it has grown since I even last heard of it. Neat. Yeah. So there's Magic physically, or you can do it online. So that's my number 4.
All right, my number 4. Is a game that can be played multiplayer, but I totally refuse to ever try it that way.
Okay.
It's a 1v1 game in my mind.
Yeah.
In yours too, I know. Is Sorcerer. By Wise Wizard Games. It makes no sense to even go above 2 players. Like it's it's a tacked on deal, and I've tried it that way, and it just is stupid.
Right.
So 1v1 is how this game was meant to play.
Yeah.
And then when Endbringer comes out, it'll be nice and cooperative solos. But
that's true.
But anyway, this one is, it's just a crazy 1v1 game. It's very dark and twisted. It brings in aspects kind of like almost like a smash up thing in the middle, where you're battling for these different parts of this area of London, I guess, in the base game, or Egypt, depending. But and their deck is almost smash up style as well, because you're picking a sorcerer, and then their domain and their lineage. And you shuffle all that together, and you may get something really good, and you may get something
or
shitty.
you may get something.
It just, I mean, that's, if there's so many different combinations with this game that you're not going to really, I mean, I guess you could do like smash up and you can sit there and figure out, okay, these two, if you put these two together, you're going to whoop ass, you know?
Yeah.
But I like kind of just the randomization to see what happens, you know?
I'm not trying to min-max a fucking card game, like a casual 1v1 game.
Exactly. And I taught this game to tons of people at Origins 2019, and it was really catching on to people. You know, people really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Core box even. You don't even count. I mean, there's so much crazy shit with all the expansion summoners and all the other decks, and it's just so much.
At Gen Con 2 years ago, I went with my friend Devin and his brother, and they tried Sorcerer, because I was like, oh yeah, you might like this, and his brother ended up actually buying it. So yeah, it's extremely such a solid game.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before because this has been on lists prior, but the main dude with this game was an ex-Magic pro.
Yeah.
You know, so...
What is it, Peter Donnery?
Well, he's one of... It's Doherty is the last name. I can't think of what his first name is right now.
Was it not Peter? Totally thought it was.
Peter's another guy that...
Oh, okay.
This is co-designed. Sorcerer.
Gotcha.
It's Peter something and then Doherty.
Okay.
But anyway, Doherty was a Magic pro, so you can see that in these cards. You know, these cards have a lot of text, but there's a lot of nuance with them. They work well together. They're balanced pretty well. I mean, there's some things that may not work great together. You're gonna run into that with a lot of things. I think they've tried to make it as even as possible.
Yeah, I would probably say that there are factions that tend to kind of work obviously easier. I wouldn't necessarily say better, but I would probably say easier.
Yeah, that's
to see the combinations more so than some of the other ones. But the great thing about that game is you don't have to rely on luck of the draw. You have actions that you can allocate to draw cards or gain energy to pay for cards.
Yeah, that was another, because you have your dashboard, and I think you have 6 actions a round.
Yeah.
So you can choose that to gain energy, which is what you use the currency to play cards, or you can just spend it to draw cards, or I mean, you have a lot of freedom, and a lot of competitive 1v1 games you're stuck with the resources you have or the cards you have in hand.
Right.
This one you can spend some of your actions to charge up or get your hand up.
You can't necessarily get like mana screwed or anything like that.
And I like the spatial awareness of this game is another. It just adds so much more strategy to it, because at the beginning you get to place your sorcerer at one of the 3 spots, and all of that sorcerer special abilities can only be used where he or she is at, or it is at.
That's true.
So you have to really think about how that turn's going to go, and where the minions are out, and what you're going to need to use. So I mean, you really have to. It helps to really know your sorcerer as well.
Yeah.
I mean, because this is one of those games that if you're experienced, you play somebody that's not experienced, it's not going to go good for the.
That's true.
It's
because
pretty deterministic. On what you
I think it would be one of those, like, unless, like, it's like if I understand the game, but I still get a random assortment of the 3 things, then that makes it more balanced. But if I'm like, I know, the demon is going to work with the asylum and it's going to work with the forest, like, I'm going to take those 3. Which, I mean, I would say that for Smash Up as well. Oh, yeah. Like, if people round robin and they're like, I know zombies and wizards are going to go great together, so I'm going to grab those. Yeah. Like, it's to be like, well, my decks would be better. So
the weakest part of this game, I think you would agree, probably, is the dice combat. It's not horrible, but it's the weakest part.
It's just, yeah, I mean, I wish that they had just done kind of like almost a Magic style, where because the minions have like a attack value on them and a health value, and that just indicates how many dice you're rolling. I wish that it had just been a flat number. it has 5. I'm attacking with 5, and you have a minion with a defense of 3. I would have much rather enjoyed that because I feel like that would be a lot more you'd be a lot more tactful with where you're playing them instead of just being like, oh, I'm just gonna spread it out and hope. Oh man, criticals! Look at that! Like, and it's. Right. I mean, yeah, you have the omen tokens that kind of mitigate it on both sides, and at least there's that right. instead of just a flat roll. But yeah, it's just it doesn't take away from the game like enough. Like Sorcerer is still like a 9 out of 10.
It makes it long.
Because
that phase when you're rolling the dice, that's a big chunk of a turn.
That's true.
Because if you have a lot of minions out, you're rolling all these dice.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I'm gonna reroll that. You're gonna make me reroll that. Okay, I'm gonna make you reroll that. It goes back and forth.
Right.
And that phase of the game takes longer than actually putting the cards out. So I mean that's that's the weakest part of the game.
Do you know of any changes to that with the latest stuff that's coming out?
There hasn't been any errata stuff that I know of. A lot of this stuff that they're putting out is just more of the same.
That's what I thought, yeah.
They're putting a lot into that cooperative
sure
mode, though, so we'll just see.
Right. Yeah, I wonder if there's anything on like Board Game Geek of people who have found a way to make it.
There's probably something out there.
All right, so that was your number 4?
Yes.
My number 3 is a crossover. It's Sorcerer.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. I was going to say it, but I'm like, no, wait, I'll surprise him. Yeah, Sorcerer is absolutely a fantastic game. We literally just got done talking about it. So I can't think of anything else to say on that. So, number 3, Sorcerer.
All right, my number 3 is a game that probably is going to be on your list, maybe. It depends on how early you made this list, because I know you haven't played it until recently, and it's Dice Throne.
That was the other game that you said, what did you say? Memoir 44 was super light and cheery?
No, is this the one you thought
you said Keyforge was like campy, and it was the lightest of the games, and I would probably say Dice Throne is lighter.
Yeah, I mean, it is. This Dice Throne is just rolling dice, and I mean, I think the production of this game makes it so much better. Like if the production wasn't there, this game would suffer. I mean, seriously, when you have your hero dashboard out there that has everything laid out for you, and then you're rolling dice, and you're like, okay, I mean, it's all here, you know, and it tells you there. I mean, so. If they didn't have that and you're sitting here looking at an ability card or something, it takes away a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
So when you're playing a 1v1 game, you can see stuff, you know, and it's thematic with your characters. There's enough characters out now that you can
16, I think, because there's 8 in each season, and there's 2 seasons.
So you have all these deals, and they're so different and unique, and there is a big competitive scene with this game.
Really?
Right? At different conventions. They run these, you know, so something to check out if you're going, you know, I don't know if they'll be at these obviously this year with
I haven't really looked. I usually don't do events. I am going to Gen Con this year, but
anyway, they do competitive events with this stuff, and they always have their champions and blah blah all that stuff. But I got into this game. I played it not competitive. I'd played the 1v1 version a few times, and then the Kickstarter came out for the adventures. And I was like, oh yeah, solo, I'll just get everything. I have all this stuff, but it's just a really cool game. How everybody has their own deck. Their ultimates are so crazy.
Yeah.
There's that interaction going back and forth. It's and like you said, it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to learn, easy to pick up, but your Yahtzee style rolling your dice and coming up with your kick-ass maneuvers and everything, but the production does a lot, like I said, for this game.
That's a good point. Yeah, it does definitely add ease of play, because you just have you take out the game trays and you just pop everything out. It's like, oh,
tokens,
you
dice,
have a sheet that has, like, it's the most ingenious way to introduce, like, hey, there's 16 unique characters, and here's their character sheet that's an FAQ. Like, it's like, hey, okay, well, it's like, well, can I dodge, that token? Like, I have an evade. Can I evade that damage token? And it's like, oh, I don't know. And you look on and it's like, oh, yeah, you can. Like, that's absolutely brilliant. Because the game I'm about to talk about does none of that. And there's nothing available to explain anything.
Yeah. So yeah, Dice Throne just is an awesome dice roll.
And I know your first two.
I know my first two.
Yep.
I know you probably know my 1, but
we'll
see. Yeah.
All right. So my number 2 is Battlecon. So Battlecon is a game that I love and hate at the same time. I love the game. I hate level 99. It's kind of how it comes down, because the game itself is the perfect example of a 1v1 fighter game that I can think of. There are 90 characters in this entire game if you have everything, which I do, and they actually apparently are still releasing new characters because one is coming out that I didn't know of, and I think I don't know if they're going to keep supporting it, but it'd be cool if they went to 100 characters and they were just like, we're done. That would be awesome. But so Battlecon is Devin and I are doing a tournament on the series, and at one point in that I was like, do I like this game? Like, it's so that out of all of these, this one is the most get into the head of your opponent and read them or be burned if you're wrong. Because out of all of these, everything is open knowledge. Like, the cards that... The only thing you don't know is what 2 cards your opponent might pick, but you can look and be like, okay, you can't do these 2. You can't do these 2. I have the list of your cards right here, so what is the ultimate decision of what you might do? Let me try to counter that. And that's what makes it could be very frustrating, because if we're playing a lot of games in a row and I'm winning a lot or you're winning a lot, it feels more personal than everything else, because you can't blame it on anything else other than... I mean, you can kind of be like, because there's 90 characters, not all of them are great. Or not all of them fit your playstyle. But take that out of the equation, everything else about this game is absolutely fantastic. You get really cool, back and forth of smart plays, of dodging, of anticipating what your opponent can do, building up force to try and use your ultimate at the right time. But the thing is each fight takes on average about an hour to play. So it's a mental game of reading your opponent. And the reason why I say I hate level 99 is because, as I said for Dice Throne, when you talked about it, was if you have a question about a character and how it might interact with another character's ability, yeah, good luck. Good luck. Yeah. Hopefully someone has found that, and hopefully it's on some forum somewhere that you can get the question answered, because sometimes it isn't there, and you have to make a judgment call, and you don't want to do that in a game where it's all about open knowledge and open information. So, they did have a Battlecon online that is very, very much dead, because no one wanted to do that. But yeah, 90 characters, they all have some anime overly complex backstory that eventually all have the Grand Chronicle, which is their lore book, that will just be fun to read and hopefully at least kind of get more into the game thematically. It's kind of like if you know Street Fighter lore, Mortal Kombat lore, you kind of get into it a little bit more. So, Battlecon is a fantastic 1v1 game. Obviously, we're still doing the tournament, so it's like I have to kind of I have to be in a good mood to want to play this game. If I'm even slightly like, then I'm probably just not going to enjoy it. So if you have a certain play style, there are hundreds of fighters, not hundreds, but there are tons of fighters that will fit that style. And they're pretty balanced, I will say, though, between the fights that we've had. There's been a few where it's obviously there's a fighter that kind of counters this fighter a little bit better, but it's never been like, this is impossible. We had one fight in the tournament that he was just whooping my ass, and I'm like, I might not hit you, and then I actually kind of almost came back. Still lost, but it wasn't like 20 health to 0. It was right. Like he had like 4, and I was like, it was one misjudgment call away. So they're always close in my experience. So that's my number 2, Battlecon.
All right, my number 2 is a dead game. Oh. But they're making a second edition.
Oh, okay, there it is. I was like, maybe I don't know your number 2.
And that's Summoner Wars. Yeah. It is number 2. I'm totally taking this from first edition at this point.
Oh, okay.
Just because I haven't played enough for the second.
Sure.
But first edition, I mean, I've said this on many videos. I play tested for a lot of first edition for quite a long time. I played so many damn games of this. The online version through Playdeck. I played probably 3,000 games at this point.
Wow.
I still play it on my iPad sometimes. It's but you're picking a faction. There's minor deck construction at the beginning if you want to. And then you are laying. It's a grid.
Was there deck construction in the first one?
Yeah.
Oh, it's the second.
It's
It's the second one that they said you can't until expansions are released.
Right, because in the first one they had these like, I don't know, you get these little things and you had to have a certain number of minions, a certain number of champions, and then you could put mercenaries in there to make make room and stuff too. But so I'm like minor deck construction, but yeah, you just the board is grid based. If you've seen anything with the second edition, it's the same kind of board. Mm-hmm. With the first edition, you started the game with one wall out, and that's where you summon from. So you'd pay, to summon cards. The object of the game's last summoner standing.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of these type of games. But it just used, when you killed their units, their cards go into your magic pile, and then you could use those because your magic pile is how you would spend. That was your currency.
Yeah.
And then there's a difference with second edition because in first edition, you could kill your own units if you wanted to, and they'd go into your magic pile to use for currency.
Yeah, I don't think there's a magic pile in second edition.
Right. I mean, it's...
Like, killing units just removes them, and if you run out of your deck, you run out of your deck.
Well, I think when you kill them, they still go to your magic.
I don't think so. I don't remember that. Because Magic was different in second edition, but I've only played the online demo.
Yeah, I need to look at it more. That's why I'm not putting it on this right now because I haven't done it enough to. But anyway, you had events and all that stuff, just like you do. This game is here. It's its own thing. The second edition looks really cool. That it makes the dice better because it's had the multiple face dice and stuff.
Thank you.
But first edition will always be, unless this one, of course, overcomes it. Second edition, I don't know yet. I can't say, but yeah. I mean, there's just so much crap out for it for the first edition, and right now would be the time to buy it if you want to, because anybody that's
people are trying to get rid of it.
Second can get it, and you can get full collections, even though they're still wanting a pretty penny for all of it. But
yeah. Summoner Wars first edition is the only one that I've played the online demo for second at the time, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it because it wants to be a tactical skirmish game. Without the tactics, because it all comes down to die rolls. But second edition seems to completely clean that up because the chances of you missing are very low. So it actually will be more about how you're going to move your units around, what units you're moving, what units you're summoning, how you might even bring your summoner in because it's like he's a viable option to actually use. The fact that gates, there's no walls anymore. It's all about portals. Portals, which are really cool. So second edition is something that I actually ended up pre-ordering because at first I was like, fuck no, I'm not touching that game. And then you're like, hey, well, here's the online demo, give that a shot. And I'm like, all right, I'll try that. And I don't like apps in board games. I don't like board game apps. They just don't do it for me. I don't really get into it as much. But I was like, oh, okay, these differences are pretty nice. And with me loving this genre, it's like, okay, well, I love unique factions, so if they clean it up and streamline it to where if I roll, like if you're a melee character, you're most likely going to hit. I think 5 out of 6 faces have a melee.
And they've changed that because so many of the units in first edition were like 1-2 hit points. Yeah. Whatever. Now everything's like 3, 4, 5 hit points. Yeah. So you're going to hit more, but they also raise the hit points.
They'll stick around. So. It seems like with the changes that they made, this could be a game that I could really get into. And it's cheap. That's why it was a lot of people loved it. You didn't have to pay for all the plastic for a skirmish game.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited to see how I feel about second edition physically.
Right.
And number 1, do you know what my number 1 is?
1v1 number 1.
I will say you have mentioned it.
Oh, I have.
You have. I'll give you that hint.
Well, it has to be It has to be Dice Throne.
It has to be Memoir 44. You're right. It's no. Yep, Dice Throne is my number one. This, like, it's so fucking good. Like, I very much like this game. This is the perfect example of taking luck and balancing it with strategy. Like, you are almost always going to be able to do something when you roll. Like, very rarely. There are combinations where you can miss, but that is few and far between, and usually that's happening if you push your luck. But even then, you have your decks of cards that you spend command points, that it's like, oh, I missed. Oh, wait, no, I'm going to spend a command point and change it to, I'm going to raise it up by 1. That gives me something to do.
Right.
And there's almost no hero has an option, I think, on their board that is useless. And the fact that you also have, oh, I'm going to attack you, and, okay, I get to defend, so I get to do something based off my, the hero that I'm playing. Yeah, the fact that, like you said, they're all radically different from one another. And even for this one, we're doing the tournament on my channel for it. And we've had some matchings where it's like, ooh, that was a blowout. But like the fact when you get that ultimate off, that Yahtzee, it's like, yes! And like the fact that they mentioned this is going off. Like, unless they have a way to change your die face, they can't block it, they can't avoid it, it's happening. And I will even say that the complexity rating from like 1 to 6 is really, it doesn't feel that, like I the Artificer I recently played, and he's I think a 6 complexity, and he might seem like he has a lot more going on, but he's really not that difficult to grasp. So it's just they have all their individual tokens, they have their different play styles, they have their level up cards, their own deck. Because both players have the same, like they have a certain number of neutral cards that everyone has, but then your character has their own cards. I love everything about this game. It's just so good, and it's so lighthearted. Like I was mentioning with Battlecon, how each fight lasts about an hour. Dice Throne is probably 30 minutes on average. So I've not played the adventure, haven't tried the co-op.
I haven't done a ton of it yet, but it's good. Like I said this when I talked about it, this game probably is 3 spots higher than it would have been if it wasn't for the production.
Yeah.
That production is what kills it for it.
It definitely
makes it better.
It makes it a lot easier because you just boom. Okay. Who do you want to play? I'll play the samurai, and you play the monk, and then you just take everything out. It definitely makes it a lot easier to just pop out and play. So it does.
Special dice. Look, they're dice color, and everything.
Yeah,
it's just everything. They went over the top.
Yeah, yeah, and so, I hope they do more seasons.
There's a season 3 coming.
Yes,
they've already talked about it. They don't know when, but it's coming.
Neat. So yeah, that's my number 1. It is my favorite 1v1 game right now.
Bet you can't guess.
Is it Android Netrunner?
Yes, it is.
I didn't know if you were going to put it at 1, considering you don't play it anymore.
Well,
but
I still mess with it online.
Oh, okay.
Too and stuff because they still have that the gentechie.net.
Okay, perfect
site going and stuff. This is one at times I regret getting rid of everything.
This is the one I mentioned though.
Yeah,
I wish you still had it.
It's just one of those things. I had so much, and I sold it for so much that it was like I'm never gonna play it except for showing people every now and again, and stuff like that. But yeah, this is one of those the asynchronous gameplay I think is so good because when you play a match, one person's the corporation, one person's the runner. You play that, and then you flip flop, and then so when you go to a tournament, you have to have a corp deck and a runner deck that you will play against. And the whole point of this is, the corporation's trying to score past 7 agenda points and everything. There's hidden information in this, which was the coolest thing because the cards are like face down, and you're putting agenda counters on them. It could be a trap, it could be an agenda. If you steal as a runner, if you steal 7 agenda points, you win. That's how you win the game. Or if you deck the corp, if the corp can't draw another card on their draw turn, then they lose. As a corporation, you're trying to either kill the runner or score these 7 agenda points. So hidden information is a lot because the learning curve of this game was steep at the beginning because you had your servers.
Yeah.
Everything was listed weird. HQ was your hand.
Yeah.
You know, all this different stuff. Archives was your discard pile.
Right.
But
Sorcerer does that same thing too. Your grimoire and your every game tries to do that.
And everything was very column based because you'd run towards their server and there'd be pieces of ice, which are like computer program protection, like firewalls and stuff. And you'd have to get all the way through all those with your icebreakers or just take the damage or whatever to get down into the server. I mean, this game, I've played so much competitive in this game. I traveled all over the place for this game. And it'll always be my number one on this. There'll not be a game that will pass this for 1v1. You know, it was such a popular game still, even though Fantasy Flight kind of screwed it over at the end. That there's
sounds like a theme with Fantasy Flight
and
competitive natures.
But there is this whole huge fan-ran society right now. Yeah. They're still creating content. Like they're selling boxes. They're creating all the stuff.
How are they doing that without getting sued by Games Workshop? They're not getting caught.
Well, I don't know what their loopholes is.
Okay.
Or what it is, how they're doing it, but they are creating stuff and they're having it printed. They're selling it to people. So there's still this whole scene going on.
Yeah,
they're still doing lists, restricted lists, all this stuff. I mean,
that's insane,
and it's still going. I mean, the game's been done for a few years now.
Yeah.
It's just nobody plays it anymore.
Right.
That's why I don't have it. I get online and still mess with it, and stuff like that. But this game was probably I played more competitive tournaments in this game than anything. This was my Magic the Gathering,
right?
For the Magic nerds.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, here's the one day coming back, maybe with a retheme or
I don't understand.
Something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not too in depth into the legality of copyright, but I just don't get why they can't just do the exact same game and just do a cyberpunk theme.
Yeah,
they could literally just make it the same game because you can't have if you call your deck a headquarters, that's just a type, that's just a word. Like they can't be like no, we own that. I don't know.
Well, and
obviously
it's just one of those things. I think that competitive,
and if someone else has to do it, Fantasy Flight should not be touching these games anymore because they just fuck it up.
Well, and Games Workshop is so focused on their miniature base.
Yeah,
competitive. It's one of those things. Like I don't know.
It's like who would do it?
Competitive card games.
Yeah,
there's such a
because there's no way WotC's doing it.
Right. Like, there's such a tough space in that because Magic and Pokemon. I mean,
Yu-Gi-Oh still huge.
Those rule the land.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think that's one of the reasons why these competitive things don't take off with.
Right.
L5R
went on for quite a while. I was surprised.
It went on about the same length as Netrunner.
Okay.
Almost. I mean, it just started so much later.
Yeah, which is impressive. I mean, it's dead. It's dead now, but I think it's because L5R had the name behind it as well, and the uniqueness kind of. I mean, it was a pretty complex, 1v1 game. I played it maybe once, hence why it's not on the list. But yeah, that one went on for quite some time, and they're still releasing some stuff. But I think it's the last cycle of stuff.
With this stuff, yeah. This is one of those lists that I had 40 games easily down, just because I played competitive games so much.
I really wanted this list because I mean you could just take a two-player like Star Wars Rebellion could have been on this list, but I don't like that game. But I really wanted to try and fit the head-to-head nature kind of. I think out of all of these, maybe Twilight Struggle and Cloudspire might be the two that kind of aren't really that head-to-heady, even though they are, but Cloudspire can be played with multiple people. The rest of these games are two-player games.
Seven Wonders Duel.
That was your week. Yeah.
Most of these are competitive. I mean, I guess Memoir 44, could be in that deal, but everything else was actual. I went to tournaments for
Right. So it's a fantastic. I mean, this genre works great for competitive or casual. So yeah, those are our 1v1 games. Let us know what you think of these games and what your 1 versus 1 games are in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.